Recently, strange supernatural events have been happening, and no one knows why. At Shenwu, a crowd forms because the school's Queen Belle is about to dump her boyfriend. Rumor is she only dated him out of pity since she's bound for an elite university, and he has no college plans. Fang Yi ends up at the center of it, confused about the situation. Belle steps up and says she's thought it through, and their relationship isn't realistic. High school love doesn't last. They're not a match, so she suggests breaking up. The simps whisper that he must be in shock. She's the most popular, and they say he was out of her league from the beginning. Turns out Fang Yi is a real Sigma and just goes, "Oh, okay," and turns to leave. She calls after him, annoyed, asking if he hasn't got anything to say, but he doesn't stop. He glances back and asks if she needs anything else. She snaps that whatever trick he's playing, they're never getting back together. He glances back and says, "Don't flatter yourself. Belle, my jawline doesn't chisel itself. I am busy mewing." She's left speechless while he walks away, and the crowd just stares at his bluntness. What they don't know is he's back from a disastrous future. He keeps moving because he knows popularity, money, or education don't matter anymore. The very rule society is based on will all turn to ashes. The world itself is about to be turned upside down, and it all began last night when his past life's memories hit him. A blood moon, a raging sea, lightning, and a monster tearing through a ruined city. And once this so-called spiritual energy revival begins, there will be no turning back. He remembers the vision. He saw the beginning of the age of spiritual practitioners where power was the only standard of judgment. He shouted, "Wait," as blue light wrapped around him. He found himself in a strange space and asked who's there at a bright glow. A screen appeared, calling itself a system from the ends of the universe, built to create cultivation techniques. He reached out to the blue panel to see how it worked. The moment he touched it, his hand passed through and a giant monster appeared, rushing in to devour Fang. He saw a vision where that thing wiped him out along with the rest of humanity. That was his old self. He snapped back, sweating, clutching his chest, shaken by how powerless he used to be. He remembers being just a regular guy, trying to get by while his nation fell and people suffered. He couldn't outrun the mutant beast that destroyed the city. He died with nothing but despair and rage and a desire for revenge. Maybe that's why the system sent him back a year before the incident. Most people have no clue what's coming. He reached out again, the light broke into pieces, and he decided he'd use every anomaly caused by the aura to his advantage. A screen popped up. The system re-evaluated him and told him a new path just opened. Everything in existence can be used as material for powerful techniques and abilities, and he was instructed to save the world. Back in the present, the government doesn't deny anything. They just tell people that humanity faces an unprecedented crisis, and tell them to adapt with their own strength. The government neither denies nor confirms anything, though, and their unbiased approach helps them to retain their citizens' trust. It is tough, but he has to admit it is also more effective than to cause panic. And thinking about the system back then telling him he can use anything to get stronger, he wonders if he should go wherever anomalies occur. Right then, a message pings about King Chung University. Warning students to be careful. It says the UV index there just hit a record, and there's a heat advisory. People call it fake. Definitely a paid trending topic. He checks the sky. Weather looks normal here, and his app shows the UV index where he's standing is 0, which just makes the warning look even weirder. Another alert tells everyone to avoid one of the university gates with a high UV reading. But the comments still say it's a hoax. He smirks. Most people think it's a prank, but he knows better. This is his first real shot at getting stronger, so he heads for King Cheng's north gate, the one that's usually empty. As he gets close, the heat slams into him and he starts sweating. People sprint past in a panic, and he spots tiny particles hanging in the air. He crouches and reaches out and taps one of those glowing things. Upon doing so, its energy flares and explodes. A blue screen pops up. The system detects an intense fluctuation in the Yang attribute, and it will create a new power. He screams as the energy rips through him. A massive burst of light wipes out the view of the entire gate. People nearby yell, asking if that was Goku going Super Saiyan. He's still screaming. His hair starts turning white. He's wondering when it will finally compile because it feels like he's about to die. Then the system says he's obtained the Golden Sunday breathing technique, and with that, he is basically a fusion between Goku and Tenjiro sometime later. It's new student registration day at King Cheng University. His ex shows up, very much unbothered. A simp offers to grab her suitcase, and a bunch more try to shoot their shot. She shuts them all down, saying she doesn't need help, then gives a cold look to a couple being mushy nearby. A sudden blast of golden light shocks her and everyone else, and the speakers warn people to stay away from the north gate. She notes strange things have been happening lately, and decides to go check it out herself. Back at the gate, another huge wave of golden energy lights up everything. A shadowy figure steps out of the smoke, and he takes a deep breath. A screen says the technique has been created, and he's earned 50 compilation points. He stares at the message, wonders what those points are for, then leaves it for later. The sky gets covered with dark clouds overhead. He starts practicing Golden Sunday, breathing. Later, under a harsh sun, word about the sky just turning dark for a moment spreads across the campus. The students run toward the north gate, eager to check out what's going on, and a crowd builds fast. The president of the university shows up, mad, asking why everyone ignored the warning. He and his security push through the crowd. A hooded figure tells the president to lock the north gate down completely. The system pings our guy. He successfully purified the area, which was graded in a rank-polluted zone. He notices the label and wonders if there are others like him. An alert blares about unauthorized personnel, and the students wonder about the people in uniform, asking if they're military. Fang sees the commotion pulling in more eyes, so he decides to bail and sprints off. The hooded figure checks the blast site, crouches, and runs a hand over the cracked ground. She picks up a chunk of debris, studies it, and notices it is man-made. She wonders if anyone else came into contact with Aura early. Officials rush students out while she continues studying it. In the crowd, Belle hears it was all one person, and wonders how something like that could be man-made. Then she spots Fang running away and wonders if it was him or someone else. Then she scoffs that, with his grades, there's no way he could be here. A couple of hours later at Fang's place, Fang lies in bed, annoyed that the heat in his body won't fade, not even after a cold shower, and worries he won't sleep well tonight. He's also nervous that today's mess might have drawn attention. He checks his phone, sees the Cultivation Association trending, remembers everyone used to call it a joke, and thinks the hooded person at campus might be from there, so he opens the article. It lists details about the cultivator realm, and somehow it feels familiar to him. The comments call it fake, but he wonders if this is official. He never learned any of this in his past life as an ordinary person. Sitting up, he decides to try his technique again, closes his eyes and starts training because sleep is cancelled anyways. Heat builds as golden energy gathers. He lifts off the floor, wrapped in a bright glow. The first step is refining his body to handle the energy of heaven and earth. He focuses on controlling his aura, then shapes it into a divine axe. He is completely locked in. A system message pops up. He's reached the Dao Shui realm and gets 50 compilation points, plus a note about a new path. The system explains he can spend points to imbue compiled data into objects. He eyes his mug, reaches out as that gold aura flares, and the system asks if he wants to use 1 point to give it a yang attribute. It's basically enchanting an item with a supernatural effect. He figures a weapon with that would become his very own signature weapon, which he'll need, so he decides to try on a small sword from the shelf to test it. If it works, he'll buy a real one for fighting monsters. A weird noise cuts through the night. Outside, a shadowy creature with glowing red eyes watches his apartment while tearing through another human it just hunted down. A while later inside, he doesn't know, still feeling the after effects of training. He wakes up as he hears a rat-like scratch and doubts it's coming from inside or the pipes. Maybe it is a neighbor's pet. He walks through the living room, tells himself his better hearing can pick up neighbors than focuses. Something's off. He heads to the door and comes face to face with the red-eyed beast in the dark hallway, coiled to attack without warning. He recognizes the mutant rabbit, and a memory from his past life chills him. Meanwhile, a helicopter scans the city. On a rooftop, a girl complains they still haven't caught the rabbit that ate the night's spirit fruit, making its speed insane. She orders her team to keep her updated, then jumps off the building. While falling, she notices the mutant's aura and knows she's close. She slides down a building to slow down. Overcomes, she's told to pursue at all costs. The monster has been within a densely populated area, 20 kilometers away, so she keeps moving, jumping between towers and warning that the creature ate the spirit fruit not long ago, and is still evolving. A guy working late sees a blur flash past his window and stares. His boss yells at him to quit staring, but he can't help himself, wondering if he is dreaming. They are on the 65th floor, inside the apartment. Fang faces the creature as it screeches at him. The beast slashes, but he dodges with speed that makes the creature seem like it is in slow motion. Gathering sun energy, he wonders why a mutant showed up this early. He remembers what he saw in his past life. That thing isn't fully evolved yet, so he decides to end it before it massacres the entire building. He grabs the beast by the tail with his energy-charged hand while the monster tries to bite him. Holding tight, he whips it through the air, noting the weakness in its tail, and the thing shatters through the windows. The glass explodes, and he goes into a stance, leaping out of the window himself. With his fist first, he charges his punch, then fires it right at the monster's stomach, sending a blast through its body. The creature got the Akaza Rengoku treatment, and still it tries to absorb the light, so it digs its claws into the golden blast, trying to absorb it. The sun powers too much, and a golden explosion wipes it out completely, finishing it off. In the building next door, a guy is late night reading manhwas. Noticing the light, the guy checks the window, wondering if it is thunder, but he sees nothing. Fang lands as the gold fades. He figures the thing was like a starving ghost trying to eat his power. One of its eyes drops, leaking a black substance. He stares. Then the guy stomps it flat. He gets it now. The Nightborn creature was desperate for his opposing yang energy. And if he were ordinary, it would have devoured the whole building. He needs more techniques for what's ahead. Had he been an ordinary person, everyone here would have been eaten by now, and he knows he needs to get stronger. The hunter girl arrives in very tight Nike Pro pants, stopping at the wreck scene. She wonders if someone else took out her target. Nailing. She says the target's destroyed, and she'll try to recover the night attribute. But a leftover golden surge scorches her hand when she touches the remains. She recognizes it from the university gate, extremely pure and high. This isn't a coincidence. She opens comms and reports that a new, powerful forerunner with a high-level attribute eliminated the target. Some guy on the other end asks if the gate purification and the rabbit were the same person. Another voice says there's no record of him, and the association needs to recruit him. She agrees, carefully bottles the small golden flame in a capsule on her gear, and gets new orders. Drop other missions and prioritize tracking the forerunner to join the Cultivation Association. She unwraps her lollipop, pops it in, and says she got the order loud and clear. But first, she wants to slurp some bubble tea. She wonders who this powerhouse even is. She says someone like that must definitely be a master, and she must get to know him. At sunrise, our guy stretches and gets to training fresh and calm. He starts his breathing technique, pulls in the morning energy, and his eyes light up as he steps into the Ghost Axe realm. A surge hits another breakthrough that fast. He can't believe it himself. He clenches his fist and forms his key axe, which suddenly feels way lighter than yesterday. He lifts the golden axe, pushing through to the 2-star Ghost Axe realm. His body feels even tougher, his eyes still glowing. The jump comes fast, thanks to leftover energy from the last time he broke through. He decides to level up one step at a time, and since this kind of training draws attention, he needs a quieter spot. At the association office, a man feels a fluctuation in solar energy and wonders if it's Fang again. Our guy, meanwhile, finds a secluded riverbank, opens the system, and confirms he's adding an attribute to his weapon. He failed with the weaker sword from before, but this new blade syncs with him and the system confirms the encoding. Hyped up, he tests it. A massive golden beam blasts from the sword. He is stunned by the blade's power and realizes how dangerous this is. He slashes at the river, splashing up water since he almost caused a wildfire. With smoke building, he decides he needs to leave. Someone probably already noticed his shenanigans. The girl sprints toward the smoke annoyed. She steps out and misses everything, then stops. The river is literally boiling like a hot spring. She hovers over the damage, asks what the newbie did this time, and imagines the trouble coming her way from the cleanup department, then spots a golden glint. What she senses shocks her. He jumped from 1-star to 2-star, and even made a spirit weapon. The association only has 2 of those. They are extremely rare, and their tech isn't complete and especially not open for public use. Suspicious, but thinking she might be reading it wrong, she's about to start cleaning up the mess, muttering about paperwork while sipping her bubble tea. Meanwhile, he notes his blade now has a yang attribute, but he wants more. The system can encode anything, so he plans to stack attributes. His phone buzzes. An unknown sender invites him to a pioneers group. He realizes he forgot to update his privacy settings, and the message says official recruits should be at least Ghost Axe realm. They mention a new pollution zone and a group hunt. When he asks for the location, they send details on the lava dragon of the Shadow River. He accepts, feeling like the stars just aligned. Over in Binmu District, the team waits for old Lee's friend. One guy says the girl's map was so detailed he got there in no time. The blonde girl thanks everyone and reminds them to stick together. She's with the Cultivation Association and has frustrated the pioneers here aren't promising. They are just bums. The Cultivation Association's actually a government agency, and getting in cost her family a fortune, so she really doesn't want to leave without recruits. Just then, an explorer spots the newbie arriving and calls out his name. Fang. Fang shows up with his new sword and introduces himself. The blonde agent can feel he's strong, but his presence isn't crushing, but rather warm. The team leader gives the signal, and they move for the cave. Fang takes the lead and asks the blonde agent to handle the light. As they walk, someone warns him about loose rocks, and they all note it isn't as hot as they expected. The team treats him like he's already one of them, which surprises him a bit. They slow down as they arrive before a river of boiling lava. Fang rushes forward, and the blonde agent yells at him not to be reckless. He drives his hand straight into the lava, and the explorers call out to him, thinking he must be having a death wish. A blast of light throws everyone back. Fang's system flags a world anomaly and starts crunching data. Then a screen pops, new skill unlocked in her flame. It details the scarlet flame blade. Unsheathing unleashes huge power, and when the sword gathers flames, it unleashes immense energy. He reaches for his sword. Realizing this power pairs perfectly with his tang blade, he will definitely embed that attribute into his sword. The others watch, stunned, as his weapon pulls energy straight from the lava until the blade is fully fused with it. The explorers cheer, brushing our guys, stunt off as probably a small accident. Then, they notice the spiritual energy stabilizing, and they are able to absorb it. The agent smashes the like button and says she's just there to gather information and tells them she'll keep watch. Then, more footsteps echo in the cave. A new group of big guys stomps in and announces they are claiming the place. The agent goes tense. She can tell all three are in the Ghost Axe realm, and she knows they can't provoke them, but she still steps up and says her team was here first, and they are already absorbing the spiritual energy. The enemy leader just scoffs and yells for them to clear out. She thinks about how, in this era, the weak are just prey, but she can't just stand there. Then Fang steps forward, which shocks her, and calls the leader a coward for trying to scare a little girl. He locks his grip on his flaming sword and unsheaths his blade. His newfound skill makes the blade detonate in a massive burst of fire, and the three are blown back. The leader is stunned by the impact and tells his men to back off. One of the side characters who was meditating cracks an eye and asks what just happened. Fang thinks back to his past life. It is because of people like them that so many tragedies happened, the strong preying on the weak. But just giving them a lecture won't scare them. So he grips his sword and lifts it off the ground. A wave of golden energy erupts, and he orders them to get out of his sight. The leader watches scared at the second explosion and asks what kind of a monster he is. Terrified, the whole group bolts. Fang's teammates rush overhyped, telling him that move was insane. He smiles and says they've all absorbed enough spiritual energy. The agent agrees the zone's tapped out, so they decide to leave. Watching Fang, she realizes if he had actually slashed the guys, they would have turned to ash and get serious. She needs to report this. At the Cultivation Association office, a woman asks her if another high-attribute pioneer appeared. On the call, the agent blurts out, "Is there already another one like him?" But the woman dodges, thinking about what her boss would do to her if she leaked it, and just tells her she logged the information, ending the call and telling her to report any further developments. She turns to her superior and asks if they got lucky, but he says talents like that will run things soon anyway. The situation's getting complicated, and the old man just wants to resign. Later, on a sunny day in the city, Fang walks around in a hood drawing stares. People whisper that his sword looks real. He plays it off his cosplay, but he still stands out. He checks the news on his phone. Hears chatter about a dragon that has been spotted, and an anonymous report reveals that Fang was responsible for drawing its attention with his flame. He realizes he underestimated the internal flame. That surge is what caused the anomaly. With so much energy built up, he feels a breakthrough coming and heads for the mountains to train while wondering who might have reported him. 5 minutes later, he reaches the mountain behind the city. A shovel is stuck in the dirt nearby, and a garden restoration specialist, Su Kingying, is stretching after finally cleaning up our boy's mess. She looks up, stunned. An intense light and crushing aura roll off the peak of the mountain as a huge spiral of energy forms. She can barely stay upright and wonders who's breaking through. She calls it monstrous, then jumps toward it, realizing it might be the same guy she's been chasing. So she has to catch him. Up on the mountain, he's meditating as a golden multi-armed figure takes shape around him. As he concentrates, a divine axe forms. Watching from below, Su Kingying stunned at how precisely he's controlling it, and wondering if he has been training for hundreds of years without anyone knowing, remembering how she failed her own breakthrough and spent a week in bed. To her, he looks calm and seasoned, more like a hidden master than a rookie, and she even thinks he looks godlike, descended straight from heaven. Moreover, most rush when they are about to break through. While he moves steadily like a master from ancient times, she notices the divine axe drift east. His eyes blaze brighter, he floats, and the system announces his breakthrough to the 2-star Ghost Axe realm. She stops looking for him. The shockwave slams down right in front of her. She can't believe she missed him again, although it has only been 30 seconds. Frustrated, she figures he sensed her. She gets an idea, stands before a giant tree, and calls out to the senior she can tell is still nearby. He appears, realizing she's the one who's been tailing him these past few days. She introduces herself as a captain of the Cultivation Association and invites him to join. Admits she followed him for 2 days to deliver the offer and chooses her words carefully so she doesn't offend him. He stays serious and asks why they want him. She, realizing flattery won't work, explains the country wants to organize pioneers for future threats. He asks what would happen if he refused and says that he doesn't fully trust them yet, leaving her speechless. She then gives her name as Su Kingying and says she used to be a pro athlete, showing her association ID to prove she's legit. He looks like he recognizes her from a television show back then, and figures her speed comes from a strong athletic base. He remembers how the nation of Zia, the one behind her organization, ultimately failed, and he decides he'll join, just not now. He tells her he remembers her, which makes her hopeful. He says he'll think about it, zips past her, and as he goes by, asks her to keep his whereabouts secret for now. He also figures she could be useful later. She agrees to cooperate, but warns she has to report his breakthrough, and he's fine with that. Just when she tries to add more, he's already gone. Left in the forest, she groans that he's dodging her on purpose, and that cleaning up after him is a pain. Her communicator pings an anomaly, and she wonders if they're back. She remembers those twisted, brutal things that feed on power and pollution zones, some turning into terrifying beasts. Those beasts spawn new pollution zones, and if no one stops them, it ends in a never-ending spiral downwards. At night, it is raining, and thunder flashes across the city. Fang casually walks through the city as his phone buzzes with storm alerts and a tourist area closure. People are already guessing a powerful cultivator is undergoing a trial there. Fang watches the storm, senses strong thunder energy, and realizes the center must be close. He climbs the stairs and confirms the mountain ahead is the center of it all. Then he sprints through the wet forest, landing light and pushing on, as the system flags a pollution zone on Yaowang Mountain, level unknown. Fang walks into the forest. The Yaowang Mountain stands at 545 meters tall and spans across 25,000 hectares. As he walks, a massive blue bolt crashes down right onto him. Over at the association, the danger level on Mount Yaowang keeps climbing. The leader calls it critical, and at the moment the area is classified as in a level contamination zone. Su Qingying says the peak is inaccessible, and at this pace, it will qualify for S-level danger within just an hour. And even a 3-star pioneer would show a 100% mortality rate. One suggests locking down the mountain base and sealing the area until the energy drops. They have no one capable enough to even approach the area, and the leader agrees. Back at the peak, lightning keeps hammering the ground. Fang still pushes forward, glad to have the Jinyang breathing technique, which allows him to survive, somehow. But that's not enough. He wants to push toward the eye of the storm to pull out the purest thunder attribute. In this era, humans are at the bottom of the food chain. Even a rabbit can be a threat. So even with his current techniques, he's not strong enough, considering how much more terrifying things will appear in the future. Fang made his blade tougher. Flames made it hit harder. But this thunder is his chance to harden his body, and he knows you only get stronger by chasing chances in chaos. And this one is a perfect opportunity amidst the transformation of heaven and earth. At the peak, he tries to absorb the thunder and pulls out his sword. However, he gets slammed with resistance. He grits his teeth as electricity surges through his body. He coughs but keeps his grip on his sword and reminds himself thunder is basically divine punishment. It tries to force him to his knees. He needs a way to control it, so he fires up Golden Sun, breathing at full power, and charges with his flaming sword straight into the very center of the energy itself. He slashes his sword straight at the source, which creates a powerful blast of fire and lightning. He coughs blood but keeps hold of his flaming sword, decides to endure even if it kills him. He stomps down hard enough to crack the ground. Then the energy locks him in place. It makes his muscles feel paralyzed, trying to finish him. His eyes flare yellow, another bolt hits, and the system says it's in the process of extracting the new power. People in the city stare at the storm, worried it might roll over them. Meanwhile, the extraction succeeded. The system grants him divine thunder power and 5 waiting points. This attribute is aggressive, and unlike Yang, it dominates in multiple areas. His thunder can now be used for offense as well as defense. It refines his body without pain. He realizes it's a purification and transcendence. He considers loading it into his blade, but that could taint the sword's pure Yang, and stacking too many attributes could make it collapse. Instead, he tells the system to bind the thunder to his right hand. Blue energy wraps his hand and arm, locking the power in place. By morning, the peak has calmed with mild lightning remaining. Investigators sweep the site. Major Han says a pioneer was here, and Su Qingying asks Han if they're still alive. She can't find any lingering attribute and figures the storm wiped the traces, and Han goes over the timing and the lockdown. He says the storm began at 6 p.m., and they sealed them out and off at 7 p.m. So whoever survived must have ascended before the disclosure, since the thunderstorm was predicted to rise to S rank, but then suddenly dropped. He figures that person must have had lightning abilities, which is why he endured and ultimately caused the abnormality to change. That makes them dangerous, since no one knows which side they're on. While far away in his house, Fang sneezes on the couch. He got a cold. The officer orders an all-out search for this person and gives him a code name, the Tyrant. The association wants to recruit the Tyrant fast and suppress the news. The major adds that a high-ranking candidate is already trying to reach that person. Su Qingying is told to submit her report to Major Han and looks rattled. She says, it's the same person who purified the University Gate anomaly at King Shanghai. She keeps it together on the outside but starts to panic inside, telling Major Han she tried to reach him, but his movements are all over the place, and he has the solar attribute. To protect her cover, she had to mix truth with half-truths. Hearing solar, Han begins to slow down and thinks through what this new, powerful pioneer means. Then he praises her, says the organization needs people like her, and decides to push fake news about natural disasters, since he hates posting about spiritual energy. Meanwhile, at Fang's house, it's raining, and he's planning his next move. Ro uses his Golden Sun breathing to do his laundry, and it comes out completely dry like new. He puts it on and checks the changes from his new thunder attribute. His right hand looks physically different, the strongest part of his body now. He's surprised he can control something that wild, and feels close to a breakthrough. He remembers the unbearable pain when he first triggered his solar attribute. The thunder power itself feels weaker, but the system says it now does 300% more damage to enemies. and he can't wait to try it out. A phone alert pulls Fang's attention. It's an emergency warning about a global shift. He knows those usually mean new opportunities, although they might cost his life. He has to try them. His eyes go wide as he spots a story about a factory explosion and suspicious pollution. Commence mention a cold, sinister smell, and it clicks. He flashes back to his past life, hiding while a creepy creature slaughtered people. That monster, called Red Eyes, hunted like a relentless predator, and he wonders if this new case is the same type. He runs through the facts. These things love the dark and can be twisted plants or animals. This one's 100 times more dangerous, and he has to stop it before it evolves. Time to test that 300% crit in a real fight. It is a rainy night, the streets are empty, and someone shoots across an intersection, right as the light turns green. It is the Association's extermination team, and they have lost the trail of an anomaly called Candlelight Night. An agent says it blends into darkness and eats people. In this storm, it'll start feeding soon. The squad leader says they can't let that happen. At the command center, an operator updates File 7, the one designated to the threat. The mission's bumped to B level with a 12-hour deadline. The order is to keep tracking, but to prioritize staying alive. As they search the city, the leader confirms the order and keeps the chase going. Mutations are everywhere, and HQ is extremely busy. They spot something odd on the city map, and the command center tells them to hold. They are approaching an area where members of the spiritual energy are carrying out a mission themselves, and they are told that Su Kinging will be informed to help them temporarily. The extermination chief and his partner look up, hoping she'll arrive quickly. On a rooftop, the girl and her squad already stare down at them. He quickly informs her that the anomaly eats humans. She shoots back. "Is that how you ask for help?" She stays cold, says the extermination team is strong enough, and starts to leave. The leader quickly apologizes and says without their tracking ability, the whole city is done, and he begs her to reconsider it. So they finally team up, take a rooftop vantage point, and an agent channels his energy, locks onto the target, then sends out a vortex that races toward its hiding place. They find a creature in a damp, dark spot, calmly feeding. The winged team leader tells the sabotage unit to start. The creature immediately notices something's off, then locks onto them, and the team snaps into formation. They surround it and call it the full encirclement. A hunter leaps in and slams into its side, but it does nothing. The beast is just temporarily shoved back, and its back starts pulsing. Then it roars and sends out a sonic wave of dark energy. Su Kinging yells to watch the sound and fall back. The blast catches some of them as they cover up, and when someone asks the commander if he's okay, he says the thing's strong. If they hadn't pulled back, they'd already be done. The monster gathers green energy in its mouth and blasts the ground. The substance pools and eats through the floor, and Su Kinging warns it's escaping through the ground. She says the mission now is to collect real-time battle intel. One agent tightens his grip on a dagger. He sees red eyes shooting toward him. The winged creature charges through him, and the other team's leader yells not to let it escape. The beast takes off through the streets, but the girl's team stops on a rooftop when she senses something off. The spiritual energy just spiked. Inside an abandoned factory, she checks it again. The blonde guy asks for the reading. She says it was 48 a moment ago, but it just shot past 80 and it's still climbing. They realize there isn't just one anomaly. As a new creature steps out of the dark, she and the other squad's leader are stunned. He says they were lured into a trap and orders a fast retreat. Su Kinging fires a beam at the gate, saying they can reopen it together, then suddenly feels off. She collapses and realizes she's been poisoned as the creature closes in. She calls for her team, but no one answers. Still, they must be close. The monster rat earlier must have lured them in there on purpose, and now she faces off alone against a huge serpent. The monster's plan was to slowly drain her with the toxic gas, and she wonders what kind of a monster it is, possessing both combat skills and intelligence. A bright light breaks through the ceiling, drawing her eyes up. A blast blows out part of the roof, and a silhouette drops through the debris while she succumbs to the toxic gas and faints. Fang comes down through the hole he made, planting his feet as he faces the snake. Without even looking at the creature, he says, "So this is a shadow-type anomaly." The serpent bares its fangs, ready to strike, and he dodges with ease while the winged creature tries to surprise him from behind. It manages to clamp onto his shoulder, making him realize why the place was so saturated with spiritual energy. He, too, realizes the two work together and asks the rat if it has some kind of biting fetish. He activates his thunder power and completely fries the rat, then the bolt rips into the giant serpent and blows it back. He turns with his sword lit up and asks, "What's scared of a little fire?" The serpent roars and lunges with its fangs out, but he slips past its jaws and warns it to take a good look at what this blade can do. The serpent just bit the curb and turns to see him charging in. It goes in a second time, but too late. He lands a clean slash which cuts the serpent in two. He drops back to the ground, surprised, as it seems like the serpent is regenerating and fusing back together. As expected, there was a hidden move. Before it can fully heal, Fang just goes in a second time, shocking the serpent with his lightning skill. He just smiles as it fires, feeling that this blast is even stronger than the one he used on the last monster. He used his sword to channel his thunder through it, and it paid off. The shadow creature from before was easy. This serpent was the real threat. Then he spots something spreading on his shoulder. The snake's scale got stuck in there. He realizes the serpent must have fired it as a sneak attack, and notes its intelligence. He shuts it down with his own power. If he hadn't, the venom would have silently paralyzed him without a sound. His yang flame burns out poison, and golden sun breathing keeps him safe. Anyone else would have been done for. No wonder these two have eaten so many pioneers. Either way, they're being reduced to ashes now, and won't hurt anybody else. He watches the body burn, and notes that while his inner flame is clean, the thunder still feels even more effective. As the remains crumble, he walks toward the fire, someone still in there. He reaches out his hand and focuses, and Su Qingying sits there, coughing. He recognizes her as the agent from the association. He calls her out and tells her to stop playing dead. Her acting skills are trash. Flustered, she says the burning snake's stench woke her up, and she really wasn't faking. He points out her friends passed out, while she still had a little bit of defensive aura left, and praises her. She wonders how he could tell, and she can't figure out how he beat both creatures. He tells her she can open her eyes as long as she keeps quiet about who he is. Then says it's late and everyone's safe. So he's heading out. She tries to stop him, but he already jumps through the ceiling and tells her she can handle the cleanup. He lands on the roof and thinks it's good. She didn't see him trying to absorb that dark attribute. It felt truly disgusting. Maybe his body rejected it because of that, so it failed. Down below, she's annoyed she didn't see his face properly. She walks over and slaps the blonde age in a wake. He jerks up yelling they were ambushed, then freezes when he spots the giant skeleton. Where'd that power come from? He asks, and she tells him a pioneer saved them. She thinks that guy has the Yang attribute, the exact target of her mission, and she tells the guys that he knew they were observing them and still saved them. Another teammate is stunned by the mystery guy's strength. The blonde asks about the other monster's body and orders a quick cleanup. He starts absorbing the green energy left in the remains, then steps onto leftover blue electricity from the wreckage, and he backs off in shock. Noting the brutal energy, he asks if the guy was a Yang attribute user, because the leftover charge is so strong. He wonders if two top pioneers did this and left. But the girl knows all signs point to just one person, and no one would believe someone had two attributes. Having one would already make you a genius. He is both the rumored Flamewalker of the Sun as well as the Thunder Tyrant. She asks herself what kind of monster he is to wield that much power, and decides to keep it a secret for now. Backup cars roll in. The girl's glad she kept the squad outside, and her teammates hug her in relief. Another agent scans the residual energy on a tablet. Their task is to reconstruct the battle. An investigator tells the captains the fighting patterns and kill method point to a single person with a 99% probability, which shocks the blonde guy. They can't believe this mystery guy, and they could really be on the same Ghost Axe level. Their difference is massive. Su Qingying reports to her superior, telling him how her target reappeared, and she tells him she needs to report to HQ. He tells her to pause the mission, says the guy isn't an enemy since he saved their lives, and for her own safety she should avoid contact. She agrees, but says she has a theory about the mountain, so he asks her to explain. She says back then she felt a strong aura and first thought he had a spirit weapon, although it seemed unlikely. But now that they know he's a dual high-attribute vanguard, it seems possible. Her superior asks if she is serious, and calls it unlikely since having one without external help or resources is nearly impossible. She explains that when she met him, she sensed a Yang attribute from a spirit weapon. He connects the dots. If the weapon runs on the user's energy, and the guy is an expert in the spirit creation realm, he could have theoretically done this alone. She can't believe it. There are fewer than 5 of those cultivators worldwide. While her boss says a third attribute would shake the entire Vanguard's landscape and reminds her attributes usually clash and almost never coexist. This one would be an unprecedented case. He just hopes the guy isn't an enemy. Meanwhile, Fang finishes his shower. He notes there's less than a year until the official spiritual awakening, and anomalies are already increasing at strange speeds while he dries his hair with his power. People like him are on their own. He remembers the Lava Cave group getting more sensitive to the changes, and how self-taught pioneers have already hit the one-star ghost realm. The government is looking for them, and things are calm for now. Getting dressed, he runs through the bigger picture. The government quietly set up the Cultivation Association. People are talking about instability, and officials keep warning about danger. He feels they don't have the confidence to announce the new era yet, and leaking everything would cause chaos. What really worries him is how fast the anomalies are growing. His system shows the dark attribute is a natural enemy of vanguards and currently can't be absorbed. He thinks back to the monsters he fought earlier, and how their intelligence was far beyond any ordinary beast. He knows these creatures are nothing compared to the ones that can wipe out entire nations or continents. He figures that without him, that squad wouldn't have made it, and wonders if the unobservable attribute might be the key to turning the tide. The secret sauce. With his current techniques, not many pioneers can match him, but even that isn't enough for what's coming. His phone rings. It's his aunt. He answers, surprised, and she asks how he's doing, and if his cousin can come stay with him since she is coming to study near him. He's confused. Apparently, he deleted that mental file, trying to picture her, and only remembers her as a bookworm buried in her studies. He says yes, he has a spare room, and asks when she'll get there. His aunt tells him she should arrive tomorrow and that she'll leave her to him, which Fang isn't too excited about. Meanwhile, she is on her PC in a group chat. She is in the Spirit Energy Revival Vanguard Team 7 group chat, and she clicks over to a news article about Yanghua, a town nicknamed the City of Death after a string of disappearances. Her mom bursts in and asks if she's done packing. She says yes, and quickly shuts down her computer. She tells her mom she'd rather get a hotel so she doesn't bother Fang. Her mom insists and tells her it'll be way safer with him, and tells her not to cause trouble, while the girl is literally shoving her away, then closes her door, and we see her in pajamas, thinking Fang can't be worse than dealing with an anomaly. The next day, the city's busy and bright. She arrives with her suitcase, checks her phone, looks up, and wonders if she arrived at the right place. She spots our boy at the door as he calls out to her, asking if she is Lin Yi. She stays quiet at the sight. Fang is completely unrecognizable. They sit on the couch with drinks. He asks if she's in town for a summer camp, and she just says yes, so he tells her to call him when she needs anything and hands her a spare key and points to the room across the hall, then heads to his room. She watches him go and thinks he seems easier to deal with than expected, and he won't trouble her with her business. But he glances back, remembering the faint spiritual energy he felt from her, and wonders if that summer camp line is just a cover. He texts her chat that she'll pause training so her cousin doesn't catch on. 3 days pass. She walks out of the bathroom in a towel. He's on the couch, clearly annoyed at the possibility of being interrupted at any moment. He meditates in his room with his golden aura filling the place, and just now notices how flashy it really is. Then she calls him for dinner, which is the worst thing about it all. She cooks a full meal, cleans the house, and is polite, overall faultless like she has OCD. He offers to do the dishes, but she says it's the least she can do as a guest. He thinks she's a little too polite and perfect, so he lets her handle the chores on purpose, hoping she'll let her guard down while he figures her out. Her phone lights up on the table, and she immediately glances at it. He asks if it's a friend, and asks what's wrong, then says he's going back to his room and leaves her to it. In her room, she answers the phone and asks if the great change of heaven and earth will really happen tomorrow at 3 p.m., the meeting point. Yanghua City. He's outside using his powers to float by the window and listens in on everything, then feels a blue aura from her room and watches her meditate, knowing she's not strong enough yet to sense him. He's surprised she's already at the 1-star Ghost Axe realm at her age. So the summer camp was a cover. She came for that event. Big shifts like that are chances for him to learn new techniques and power up. So he wonders what new attribute will show up in Yanghua. Then slips out stealthily but dramatically, deciding it's his, back in her room. Yi wonders if she is imagining things. She checks the window, not sure if she was being watched just now. The next day in Yanghua near the main gate, everyone meets here apparently. A friend calls Yi and hurries over, asking if the cousin she's staying with is cute. Yi says he's got a good personality, but looks wise, pretty average, not the girl's type, which makes her friend pout. Their red-haired teammate mentions that Yi calls herself average too, to keep her hopes up. With everyone gathered, the leader says it's time to get to work. When someone asks if another person is coming, the leader says it's just the 6 of them, no +1 today. The red-haired says they're used to the uncertainty by now, and the team heads out. From a coffee shop, Fang watches his cousin's group leave and notes her team is indeed Loki strong. He sizes them up. The weakest is 2-star, and the leader is 3-star, and judging by their words, there is still a missing person, someone strong. He glances at the mountain. It is currently trending on social media because of the sudden appearance of a massive vine hanging down from the sky. It's a world-level event that's shown up out of thin air, randomly appearing around Yanghua Town at unpredictable times. But this one has no light or thunder. It just quietly flashes into sight. The group hikes along a misty forest trail toward it. At the sight, the red-haired stares and asks if this is even real, and everyone's stunned. The girl behind Yi says they should stop, and Yi asks why. The girl shivering says she's seriously scared, but only now in person does she feel like something's wrong, and she asks if they saw the forum rumors. She recalls a much stronger team tried to touch the vine and vanished without a trace. The others listen in to her story as she freaks out, saying they'll die the same way and won't even leave bones. Up close, it feels wrong. In horror, she says she feels like they'll end up just like them with no grave to be found. She again tells them how her instincts are screaming at her not to go and tells them she wants to quit. The others just stare at her. Then Yi agrees everyone felt it. She adds that the vine seems to drain life force. Yi grabs her friend's hand before she bolts and gives a motivational speech, saying this is the path of martial pioneers. From a distance, Fang watches feeling the pressure coming off the plant. He has seen many anomalies in the past few days. However, this one is the most unpleasant and he calls the group courageous. Although the plant feels fake, Yi tells them not to hesitate and to collect the energy, then warns everyone to stay close. They'll be fine if they keep their distance and they shouldn't overthink it. Yi climbs a tree and starts meditating. Fang calls her tactic not bad. It's not reckless, and she picked the spot for maximum benefits. Her power spikes and a beam shoots upward. He realizes she's about to hit 3-star. He calls her extremely talented, and her friends watch in excitement as she reaches the Ghost Axe 3-star's realm. The flare draws the vine's attention. It starts to move. The leader notices and panics, telling them it is coming, while the redhead can't believe the vine sends them from that far away. The plant snatches 2 of them, the rest run. Yi's breakthrough stirs it up, and the vine pushes in to get to her while she keeps meditating, even as her barrier begins to crack. The redhead grabs the scared friend and says, "Don't run, we have to help Yi." But the leader says he won't risk his life for someone he barely knows, and that it is her fault for choosing to cultivate there. The redhead then smacks him across the face and yells she's not leaving a teammate to die alone. Fang still watches everything, and notes that Yi probably doesn't know the vine's terrifying power. He knows the plant's too strong, and there's no time. He has to move. He promised his aunt to look after her, after all, so he decides he's saving Yi no matter what. The vines whip out, and the redhead tries to fend them off but gets wrapped up immediately. Yi's barrier, meanwhile, is pierced through by the vine. Fang closes in with his golden blade. Seeing Yi in danger, the redhead screams her name. Fang shoots down fast from above and lands a strike into the giant plant. The vine pulls back, and he decides to aura farm for a while the cowards watch from a distance. His blast burns the vines away, and his aura flares even brighter. The two watching from a distance ask if he's also some kind of forerunner, and they say it's the purest yang they've ever felt. The leader just hit level 3 and already considers himself extremely talented, with only a handful of people reaching that feat besides Yi and himself. But this guy is in a different league. He says they got completely crushed and stares at him in that golden glow, wondering what kind of existence he even is. The system informs Fang that it detected the extreme wood attribute and successfully compiled it. The skill can absorb the life force of everything nearby, and an instant to heal one's own injuries. It is an incredibly powerful wood technique. With that, as long as there is life nearby, he can basically heal himself perpetually. No wonder that vine can only survive in a treacherous zone like this, because anywhere else it would have drained miles of land. He calls the attribute insanely strong and lethal. The redhead and the other guy come over to thank him, and the girl asks how they can repay him. He says there's no need, and walks off thinking he's the one who scored the most today, considering he wasn't even invited. The two cowards watch him go, and Fang decides to track their movements from now on. As in times of crisis, people's true natures are exposed, and he doesn't want Yi to be in trouble with people like that. The girl wonders if they should have stepped in, but the leader tells her, of course not, and with the threat gone, their best choice is to stay with Yi as long as possible, basically, to use her. Yi finally opens her eyes. Her friend rushes over. Yi looks around at the wreckage and asks what happened, and says the yang in the air is so strong she can feel it pressing down on her even at this distance. The leader offers to explain everything, while the redhead just looks at him, wondering what kind of story he is going to come up with. Later at home, she wonders if someone that strong could really exist. The leader said the guy who helped was basically a monster. They couldn't even scratch the vine, and he cut it with one strike. After that, the vine completely shrank back into the sky to avoid them due to his intimidation, even though he is already gone. Fang greets her and asks if she's back already. He tells Yi she looks a little pale, but she plays it off as study fatigue for summer camp. He tells her to rest and asks if she wants to order takeout, and she agrees. While headed to her room, she closes the door and admits leveling up is exhausting and takes full focus. Then flops on the bed, glad she's not a normal person anymore and can handle staying up for days. Outside, he walks off like he is going for a casual walk, while Yi thinks a normal life like Fang's would no longer be possible for her. She has no clue. Yi then sees a message from Garen. Let the group know if they spot that powerhouse again, and it is the first time that person has written something in the group chat. She wonders if their savior is the same guy from the Lava Dragon River and what reason he'd have to help. That night, Fang grabs his bike and heads out, figuring his cousin will relax now, so he thinks about how to evolve himself next. He runs through how to handle the newly acquired skill. The essence of it is corrosion, and it could conflict with his thunder attribute. The best move is to feed it through a plant like that vine, one that senses spiritual energy and wants to evolve. Smiling, Fang knows exactly where to go and rides toward the city's forest park. He ditches the bike, slips in under the night, and stands in a field of flowers. He closes his eyes to find a plant that resonates with his energy and activates his power, wrapped in green energy, testing for the plant's response to it. The response he gets isn't strong enough, so he pushes more power, then stops, glancing over when something catches his eye. It's a small white flower glowing on its own. He holds out a hand, and the flower reacts like a little puppy. It closes around his fingertip, absorbs his energy, then opens again like it wants more. He figures it has potential, and he even nudges it with his hand. This plant's reaction is the greatest out of all of the plants in the forest, so he decides this is the one, and he asks if it's ready. A spiral of green energy drops onto the flower as a system prompt pops up, asking if he wants to place the attribute on it. The flower starts to change and he picks it up, infusing it with his energy while watching it transform closely. It releases a huge wave of green energy that shoots into the sky. Then the attribute kicks in, and the plant, now on the ground again, begins to sprout, growing bigger and draining life from the surrounding plants. Even its roots begin to glow, and it is turning everything gray, and in just 3 seconds it almost drains an entire ring of the city's forest while still spreading. After consuming all that power, the flower shrinks back down. He yanks it out of the ground, canceling the process. He knows the Cultivation Association tracks surges like this and doesn't want to get too much attention. Walking through the park earlier, he spotted an increase in surveillance and the park becoming more deserted. The flower in his hand is still absorbing energy even without its roots. He smiles, seeing that its power is contained now, while it hasn't spiritually weakened and that it's evolved from a simple wild flower. A red light blinks, warning about the abnormal energy exceeding the limit, and the plant somehow notices it too, so he takes off, not about to be caught. At the association's plant research division, alarms go off and screens flag an abnormal energy alert. They order an immediate lockdown of the park since half the forest looks dead. An agent checks his watch. Energy level 30. The North Gate fluctuated between 8 and 10, while the Lava River Dragon incident was 25. And normally the military takes over when it surpasses a reading of 10. An agent scans the soil and frowns. Soil readings look normal, yet it seems like the vegetation died in seconds. Someone says the center is farther ahead and wonders what attribute did this. Another advances forward, but an older man yells for him to stop. The leader tells them not to touch anything. It's the desolation attribute. He reminds them of the giant vine that fell from the sky during a past anomaly. The younger agents remember that demonic vine, classified as a Reincarnation mutation. He says it was lethal because it drained life from everything nearby, and to not touch anything. The agent goes pale and thanks him, realizing he almost stepped into a death zone. The leader adds there was an ancient tree with the same power that turned a whole forest into a restricted area, and warns that desolation is the strongest plant attribute in this world. A hand lands on his shoulder. A voice says they're already aware of the situation. Major Han arrives with his team, surprising the researchers. Han orders protective suits. They're going into the contaminated zone. The researchers gear up nervously and head out. They sweep the area but can't find the anomaly. The desolation energy is already fading, and they wonder if the cause of all of this already moved, just like the vine moved around. The Major decides to go deeper, and Su Qingying agrees. They press their hands to the ground and release blue energy that traces whatever trail is left. Both of them stop short and they watch in shock. The source was dug up and taken. The researcher looks confused and calls it impossible, but the Major says if someone pulled this off, they need to find out who. She says there are no energy traces left, but the data flagged a suspect. Then he hands over a tablet. It's our protagonist's name and photo marked as the prime suspect. Major Han adjusts his cap and says the rest is up to her association, and she acknowledges the order. 2 hours later, Broke comes home with the flower potted on his desk as a houseplant. He smiles, calls it his reliable assistant, and notes that it is his first time raising a flower. It gives off a faint green glow, and he knows it will be useful in battle, creating unexpected effects. Its plain look is the perfect cover, and he reminds himself that strength is only part of a fight. You need a few hidden aces. His phone rings. It's his neighbor Old Man Wang, a childhood friend he hasn't seen in 3 years since he enlisted. He answers with a grin. Wang invites him to their usual spot and teases that he's got a huge secret. Try not to faint when you see it, he says, then ends the call. Cut to a dark room. Wang reports to 2 female officers and tells them he followed their instructions. But he asks them to keep the guy safe in case he is not the person they are after. The red-haired officer tells him to stick to the mission and to stop meddling in anything extra. If he isn't their target, he can warn his friend. At a bar, they clink mugs and catch up. Fang notices Wang looks different. The army life must have been rough. The goofball has become much more mature. He says Wang talks about his 3 years of service and asks what he's been doing. Fang remembers that in his last life, he lost contact after the apocalypse and Wang died in some unknown battle, so he wasn't able to ever see him again. He wonders if he can change that this time. Wang suddenly asks if he's seen anything weird lately. Zombies, movie-type monsters. Fang gets it now. The army already knows about spiritual energy, and Wang is testing him, so he cuts in and asks what he really wants. Wang says he's here to warn him. Soon, everything they know won't matter, and the world's going to change. Fang stays quiet, putting together that the army tagged him and sent his childhood friend to check him out. But Wang adds not to worry. The warning is to help him prepare. Wang adds that as long as he doesn't leak anything of what he told him today, he'll be fine. Wang's phone goes off. He is ordered to get back to base in 10 minutes. He says a quick goodbye and bolts. Fang asks if it's about the energy returning and says he's coming too. Wang freezes, stunned, as Fang grabs his shoulder and tells him to take him along. He knows this meetup came from higher-ups anyway, and he wants to learn what the army knows. There's already an association for this stuff. So what's the army's role? They arrive at a military base, and the spiritual energy inside is very dense, already beyond that of a polluted zone. After a security check, they step into a bright hall packed with soldiers. A shockwave slams right before them, and a massive monster steps into view. Soldiers are already in formation, throwing out mana attacks to pin it down, but the thing doesn't even flinch and spits a red beam straight into them. Fang knows right away, this thing is a dangerous fusion. The officer backs that up, saying it's a fusion of darkness and fire, and it's already hurt a lot of her soldiers, which is saying something. She snaps at the friend for dragging a civilian into a restricted zone, then drops it and says they need him in formation. She looks over to Fang and wonders if he's really the target. His spiritual energy is weak, and she tells him life and death are his own responsibility. Additionally, to keep everything he sees in secret, she pulls out a heavy weapon and calls out 2 names, telling them to move. The 2 soldiers jump in and pin the monster down to the ground. The red-haired officer fires, and the blast cleanly nails the monster in the chest. That just made its mutation worse. It roars and charges a soldier. The officer yells for him to watch out and blasts the beast again, knocking it off him. She orders everyone to keep their distance and drop it before it completely evolves. Watching them fight, Fang can tell they're well-trained and their teamwork makes their attacks hit harder than his eyes go wide. He yells for everyone to run, saying they can't beat this thing. The creature erupts with a purple wave that slams the closest soldiers. The officer shouts for no one to retreat and raises the area's alert level. The beast swells bigger, and someone yells it's fully completed the darkness mutation. Its eyes glow and Fang's friend freezes up and the officer shouts his name. The commander didn't see this coming. The creature swipes at Wang with its huge claws, and the commander calls it. It's evolved to rank B. Their plan has to change. Wang takes the hit and gets slammed back, heavily bleeding. Fang asks if he's okay. Wang says he was just trying to help keep the beast contained. He tried to pump energy into its collar, but the monster's power blew right through it, and he tells Fang not to worry about him. Fang's face goes serious. The commander slams her weapon to the floor and orders them to use whatever it takes to keep the monster from getting out. She says they can't let a rank leave the restricted zone, even if it costs them their lives. Fang steps forward past her, and she asks what he is planning to do while he heads straight into the fight. He charges in and calls the monster arrogant as it strikes down at him with its claws. He dodges, charges up his thunder power, and dives onto the monster with a heavy blow to its head. The hit lands so hard that the ground shatters as the monster's head slams into it. The soldiers watch, bracing against the incoming debris and the shockwave. One asks if the anomaly is truly bearing, since even Officer Jailand couldn't handle it. Wang asks her if it could be that he really is the person they're after, and she confirms it. There's no doubt about it. He is the tyrant everyone's been talking about, and he stands before the monster, asking if it's still not completely dead, then tells the others to stand back. The commander holds her troops back, wondering what kind of power our guy has, and she has to admit, it's the most extreme form of the lightning attribute. It is top tier even in the current Xia nation, and spiritual energy hasn't even fully revived yet. She stares in shock, thinking about how much more terrifying he'll become. A massive thunder cell brews above them. He steps aside and lets the lightning crash down onto the monster, finishing it off. The commander calls him truly terrifying. The soldiers are even more scared at the sight, and Wang rushes up to him, calling him crazy, then smacks him on the head. He tells him he would never have believed Fang to be this awesome. He then admits he dragged him into this by military order. And Fang just says it's fine, they're friends after all. He glances back at the commander. She thanks him for his help and reaches out her hand. He smiles and tells her not to mention it. Just take it as him saving a friend. She introduces herself as Jai Lan, in charge of guarding the Forbidden Zone, 19, and asks for his number since she needs to make a report, and wants to include all necessary details. He agrees, and Wang watches proud of Fang. She then gazes at him once again, calling him truly amazing. His strength even surpasses many Forerunners, specially recruited by the army. She offers to invite him to join the nation's army, though she knows for a big shot like him that probably isn't enough. He is Ghost Axe, Stage 3. While his strength already far surpasses the level of a spirit forming venerable, he asks if she believes herself unworthy of inviting him, and she confirms it, adding that since they are acting on higher-ups' orders and they are already watching him, they will probably personally come to invite him. Fang tells her to chill and not take it so seriously. He actually respects her, and the way she and her soldiers fought touched him a bit, so if anything happens, he offers his help anytime. They can just call him and he will pull up, of course, under the condition that it doesn't interfere with his training. He then tells them he has to leave, and Jailan says she'll handle the fried dog and will send someone to escort him. Fang now understands the military's role, not only stationed in dangerous areas, but also there to draw a defensive line between ordinary people and anomalies. As he leaves, the commander tells her troops that what they saw today was only the tip of the iceberg of his strength, yet that's already enough to leave them far behind. Wang then tells her that if she doesn't feel worthy of recruiting him, he, as a childhood friend, can do it, and she quickly shuts his proposal down. Back at home, Fang thinks about how his identity was exposed. However, he didn't display any special powers besides lightning, and judging by their attitude, maybe it's not a problem after all. Although the military greatly desires his powers, they won't threaten him, and instead might even grant him influence and power, which would be the fastest path for him to advance channels of information. The authorities protect ordinary people while also buying them precious time, as they haven't yet fully announced the anomaly's existence. He meditates, thinking about the military and how it is truly worthy of being in such a spiritually rich forbidden zone. Before going there, the power he felt wasn't enough to make him feel close to breaking through, but now his body feels like it's overflowing with spiritual energy, and he is about to break through once again. Yi, meanwhile, is out at night, wondering if Fang has already returned. She bought some groceries and wants him to taste whether her cooking has improved. Then a massive beam of light shoots up from where their home is, and her eyes go wide. She realizes it's the fluctuation of advancing within a Ghost Act stage. However, it feels way more terrifying than that. Nothing like anything she's felt before, and she wonders if it could be a forerunner about to break through to the spirit-forming stage.